Taking a little break here. 1:30. It's warm outside. So I'm gonna do some indoor tasks. And this is one of them. So it's Tuesday. I did not do a good job of getting back on track. So what does that mean? I'm like 4 days late again. And I was just thinking about, boy, time just flies, and how to manage my time. I think like what happens is when I get on, like there's like mental tasks and there's physical tasks, and for me, physical tasks are very easy to get really focused. Isn't that interesting? I was going to say distracted from the focus on my physical task distracts me from the mental tasks that I have to do. And physical tasks are, inherently, more often than not, very visually stimulating or visually motivating. Because you make something and then all of a sudden you went from like nothing and some scraps of stuff, pieces, to one whole thing. And you're like, wow, that's so great, I want to keep going, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I need to call the credit card company, and I need to, like that, pay a bill, that sort of stuff, which all needs to get done. But it's like, you make that phone call, you go to that website, and, unless you have like a list of things, but even if you have a list of things and you're like, oh, check, and you can feel good about that, it's a mental weight off your mind. It just does not have the same effect as building something physical. So I need to work on that and really set a time limit on some of those things that I know that could distract me physically. Boy, it is hot in here. I'm going to turn on the air conditioner just for a moment. And the fan. Okay, it's already feeling much better. So, I'm 2 weeks out on going on vacation to Kelowna. Looking forward to that. In some ways, I feel like I'm kind of already in like vacation mode, ready to do that. See something different. So I'm trying not to lose focus on what I need to get done before that. At least here, I need to make sure that my garden gets watered while I'm gone, so I need to set up some sort of automatic watering system for that. And before I leave, I want to go do a deprivation tank session, like an hour or something like that. So that'll be interesting, I think. I'm curious what that is like. If I like it, I looked it up in Kelowna. They have a couple places to do it there too, so I was thinking maybe Seth and I could do that together if you wanted a couple hour break from the huge. A great yoga session last night. First time I did not look at the clock and be like, oh my god, what time is it? Is it almost over? Are we ready to be done with the tough part? So that was good. Enjoyed it a lot. Thinking I should maybe incorporate other similar type things into my week besides just once a week. What else? I said I was going to, I do remember this, show the garden. And I should, I think, because it's you know, pretty good. I've been doing a lot of trimming of plants that normally I think I would not have known to do or learned to do gardening as a youngster. I don't think my parents do that much of the trimming. I have, and I think it's especially important for me because I have pretty compact planting. My spacing is like pushing the limits, so I need to make sure that there's airflow, sunlight gets in, leaves are not like touching each other and over the top of each other, so, or, I mean, you know, to a reasonable amount. So let's go take a look at that, and then I don't know what else I have. I think I know I was gonna probably plan to do some rocket stove stuff. I don't think I filmed a ton of that kind of stuff, and maybe I should have. I was gonna see how it worked out first, but I was kind of on a phase 3 already, so I have masonry cement or refractory cement, my homemade recipe of that, and then this last time I did it in sections. So the riser is one, and then the burner, the burn box, what the riser goes onto is a separate piece, and that had, I mean, it was easy to take apart, so that's a plus. That was my goal, or to take it out, take it out of the form. So that was good. Functionality wise, I'm not so sure that's so great. But making that stuff is pretty cheap, so it's just, you know, scrap plywood and some cement mix. So I can kind of, in time, so I can experiment with that a little bit more. Let's see. I think that will do it. Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff, but I was just putting it out there that I have been playing around a little bit with that. But let's look at the garden, and then I'm not sure what else is on here. Been listening to a lot of Aubrey Marcus podcasts. A lot of he does a lot of like plant medicine types stuff, which is maybe interesting to me in some way. Okay, tomato patch 1. These are the biggest of the guys. Have some tomatoes here and there. There's some around the other sides too. I don't know, 15 or so. You know, some of them are getting kind of big. Here's my strawberries. So not a ton of produce here, and you know, lots of flowering, but like if you look at this poor little guy, I'm not, see, but if you look at this guy, look at all those flowers there. I'm not sure, I wonder what will happen. Or this guy, they just seem to sit there. I should also note, like on these pepper plants in this box, I've topped, so I'm trying to grow bushier out the sides, and then these two over there I have not topped, so I'm just gonna see what happens. This here is my early girl. They were definitely smaller to begin with, but they seem to have almost caught up with the one before. Here's the ones that are either from Anthony. 3 of them are from Anthony. You can tell these leaves versus these leaves. So this is a determinate heirloom. Can't remember. I've accidentally taken out the suckers on some of these plants, so I gotta keep remembering not to do that. Sometimes I get too distracted. But these are from seed, cold-ish hardy, I guess. Moscow tomatoes. There's another one of Anthony's tomatoes. And here are my purple bush beans. And they've grown up, and now they're starting to grow over, but I really have to train these things to come down because they just want to grow up, which makes sense. So I'm not sure if anything's actually gonna be on this side of the trellis. It'll take a lot of effort on my part. Alright, we got basil. We have spinach. And then look at all my cucumbers here. Lots and lots of yellow flowers. And the cucumbers don't seem to be really growing that fast. Like these guys here, it's like they've been like this forever. So I don't know, we'll see if I actually get cucumbers here soon. These are the tomatoes that I have been the most interested about. These are the orange Rossellini. It's a cherry tomato. And I actually got 6 of them to grow, so that's great. Here is my muskmelon. Alright, so this is a big jumble here. On the left, zucchini. I've got lots of zucchinis ready to pop out here. You look at that guy over here. Got some more over there too. And this is a winter squash, and this is growing up quite nicely. They do get attacked by, I think, blackbirds, and so they see a bug on the stem here, and then when they peck at it, they almost decapitate my plant. So I've had to duct tape it a couple times, and then they did it again up here, and they actually killed that guy. So I've had to do that a few times. There's another duct tape. Somewhere they actually took off the top. See, here's another top gone, the lead. But yeah, I've got some flowers here with a little melon here, or squash, so that's gonna be great. Very happy. So here's my sacrificial broccoli. I've got a rabbit that lives here, and he likes to eat the tops off of my broccoli leaves, so that's fine. Gives him something to eat and stays away from what I want to keep. So here I got watermelon, and they're seeming to take off a lot more than they were, starting to actually vine up, actually get to the trellis, so that's nice. I did transplant just a couple days ago some watermelon that were crowding out my original bed, so it was rough. They're barely surviving, even though they look healthy right now. if you come back maybe a couple hours from now, they might be super wilty, and I'll have them. They lost so many roots that it's hard to keep their leaves hydrated and up in position. My peas are pretty pathetic. So I've got like maybe 6 peas. Maybe get something. And that's really it. Here's my cilantro. I need to really harvest that. I did. And then here's some carrots. It's kind of a mess here in my lawn garden. But I did pull up one of these, and there actually was a little carrot at the end, and I ate it, and it was very carroty. So it's great. That cilantro is probably going to start bolting here pretty soon. So I need to harvest, getting kind of mature. My radishes I have just let go to seed to encourage pollinators. So I'm okay with that. And then my beets, which I haven't really done much. I don't think anything's gonna come of them. So I can pick this and then just eat the tops, which are quite delicious. So that's what I've been doing. I don't know if anything will actually come of the beets. But if you look out, you can kind of get a sense of what the garden looks like on June 23rd, I think. We're close to it at least. So that is that. This is a kind of a dreary Tuesday morning, and what this is part of my rocket stove. So this is an upgrade from the Hobbit stove. The cardboard, this is so we got plywood here, plywood form. So basically this is what the inside is going to look like. Air intake, burn from here up the flue. And then what this guy is a form that this would sit inside of, and it traces the outside, giving me at least 1.5 inches of refractory cement around the outside, nothing on the bottom. And so how this is going to work is I have a layer, so it'll be like the back side or the front side. I poured just that here yesterday, and I let it sit overnight, so it should be strong enough to take out. And I used a shower curtain so that it wouldn't stick to the wood. We'll see how well that works. Let's see. And the proportions of the refractory cement were the same as the Hobbit stove, minus the silicate, or the sodium silicate, or the glass water. I just used water in this because I'm still experimenting, and I don't want to use that up because I made another big batch, and I'm going to wait just to test. So I've got, hopefully this can be, if this works as planned, I can replicate these things relatively quickly. So can this bottom piece didn't work exactly like I thought. My inside form was bigger than I thought, so, or than I planned. So it does come out farther, so I have this, which is fine because now I have this kind of hinged door here. Ooh, that didn't feel good. But I will use the silicon, or the silicate, the sodium silicate, to glue these two pieces together. So I really don't want to break this. Quite solid. Should. I'm hoping not to have to take off. I might have to take off another section here just to make this easier. Okay, now that comes off. Now, this should be easily removed, I would hope. Okay, it does slide out quite nicely. Hopefully it's thick enough. And there's it is still very fragile because it's 7 parts. With the plastic, this thing dries way slower than I thought. But okay, I've got one good chunk. Okay, so there we go. It's not terrible. I have so here we are like this, and I'll just, well, I can test my gluing thing here with my sodium silicate. Stick that like that, Yeah, it just dries really slowly, and it's could have given it another day. I was just impatient, but there we are. Now, well, let's set this aside. It's a very humid day, but this held up quite nicely. So now you can see the outside form, and I'll get the other. Here's the inside form. So then that will sit like this inside, and I've got my 1.5 inches on either side. Now, I have not thought about this, is that what did I not think about? Oh yeah. For it to not stick, I'm gonna have actually, what I should probably do is cut this. What I'm gonna have to do is cut this, because now I'm gonna pour the base layer and then up the sides, and that would be this layer. So I've got the bottom, so let's call that the top. I've got the bottom and the sides to pour now. The sodium silicate, or the refractory cement proportions, was 7 parts vermiculite, 2 parts sand, 2 parts Portland cement, and water. 3.5, a good 3. This was a good 3.5, because I really wanted to make sure I got into the corners, because if it's just 3.5, it's very dry. So I was afraid of having poor rounded corners. So that's definitely going to take longer to dry. Alright. Now that I have this figured out, I'm going to move forward and pour my bottom and my sides. Alright, so how about this duct tape? That's going to be my anti-stick material, so that's great. So now I get nice crisp lines. This should work perfectly. So I've got the base down, the bottom. Now I'm going to put this in and get the sides going. Alright, so here we are. Bottom, put down my insert for the sides. Hopefully they should stick. I don't know why. I was thinking about maybe putting some nails or screws or something in there to keep them more rigid, but I didn't, and I guess I will find out if that was a good or here it is unmolded, kind of, from the outside. I'm going to let this dry now, since it has a lot more surface area exposed. This is still quite wet. I mean, obviously it's solid to the touch, but I think strength-wise it's not nearly as resilient as this front edge. So from my form, this is a little hinge that goes away. I made this side connect and disconnect very easily. I don't think I had to take this off, but the whole thing just popped out in this corner. So that is great, super easy. I might take this hinge off because that's just kind of a pain. I might do the same thing, add some of these brackets, and that'll be super fast. I did have some you know, if this would fold into it. So it definitely, and getting into the very, very corners I had troubles. They're very rounded. So I got to figure out a better way of doing that. Maybe actually coat the inside of that. But this is a lot better than the Hobbit stove. Hopefully I can pop this whole thing out very easily, but it's gonna be, it just seems so fragile right now. I'm gonna give it another day at least to dry. So that's that. This stuff is super light and super crumbly. So I gotta be careful. I might even put some chicken wire fence or something inside here just to strengthen it up at some point if I feel like it's just too fragile. But for now, it's okay.